Right, hello there everyone, welcome back to James Redmond TV and welcome to what is not another Redmond Roundup. It is a Manchester City versus Liverpool preview. Well, Liverpool, Manchester City. How could I not? I got Turkish on the channel yesterday because they spanked us on the weekend. I'm getting Saeed on the channel tomorrow. I've sandwiched it with what I think is the best guest that I possibly could have got for this show, the Manchester City preview. Big Steve, how are we, son? And thank you for coming onto the channel.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, glad to be here, mate. Glad to be here.
No, we're made up to have you as well. Yeah. Do you know what I was going to say as well, Steve? People can't say that I don't have, like, thick skin. Because the fact that I've come on here, brought you on my channel, after the form that we've been on, I'm not going to lie, I think that's brave. I think that's walking into a battlefield one man's up against an army of 20, because I saw what you done to Chris the other day on the Big Six, on your little one-off appearances. You know what I mean? You're always doing it.
I know. To be honest, I had to. He's been getting away with murder on that show. You know what I mean? If Man City draw a game, yeah. I had guy we drew last night, Copenhagen. I had a guy messaging me, it's great to see this, and I thought, is he a City fan? And I went, yeah, we've got a draw, mate, and we qualified. He went, yeah, but it's good to see you actually dropping points. I was like, is that how bad it is that people are getting on me now if City draw?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking, man. But Grizz needed it, man. He needed a humbling and that. But
Haaland's actually... Didn't you know Haaland's a flop now, Steve? He scored... I swear he only scored 2 against Copenhagen in the first game, and he didn't score yesterday. I know he played no minutes, but still.
I know, it's great, mate. It's mad. Listen, I could tell you some stories. There's some City fans already at the game weekend. He went through one-on-one, and he shot, and he hit the post, and he came out, and this guy went, fucking hell, he shit him. And I looked at him, and he just went, I don't mean he's shit, but he should be scoring that. And I was like, oh my God, is this what it's going to be like? Do you know what I mean? You can't, it's just mad, isn't it?
I thought he would have said that as a joke. I'd have laughed at that. I'd have been like, he must be joking.
You know when you have that little pause where you're looking at each other to say, is he joking? And then the guy went, oh, I just mean he should have buried that. And I was like, shit. Entitled, mate, some people.
I just never thought Haaland was... I knew Haaland was going to come in and score goals. I was never a Rory Jennings who was going on platforms and saying that he was going to be possibly scoring 15 goals in the Premier League. I'm not one of those Premier League merchants.
That's come round and bit him on the arse, hasn't it?
Tell me. One thing I'm buzzing about is that we're actually the only team to have shut out Haaland, I believe.
Bournemouth as well.
Yeah, even though Haaland should have scored that game, he probably should have got like 2 goals, but still, Bournemouth as well. But
there was a little clip after that Charity Shield where it showed you Haaland put the ball over and it zoomed in on his face, and he had this menacing look about him, like as if to say, yeah, should have scored that. And somebody put under it like loading. And I can't find the clip, but it was a belter because it just looked like he was thinking, yeah, I'm ready for it now. But I said on the show after it, I said, you can miss all you want in the Charity Shield, no disrespect. Just make sure you're at the target when the league starts. And we can't argue with what he's done. Unbelievable.
No, defo. I was going to say, have you seen the reports about Erling Haaland? Like Pep Guardiola came out, it could just be his baldy mind games, you know what I mean? Let's be honest, we know that he's got a mega mind underneath that brain, kind of like yourself, Big Steve. Do you think there's any substance to Haaland possibly not being available for this game if his muscles are a bit too much for him? Do you think he's just playing winding us up?
Listen, if he was that fatigued and he needed a rest, he wouldn't have took him to Copenhagen, or he wouldn't have put him on the bench, to be honest. He wouldn't have been warming up. I think he's just he's played every game possible. It's the first time he's been dropped. He's been took off in a lot of games, around 60, 65 minutes. I've seen him in training this week. Yeah, he might be tired, but there's no way we're going into Sunday without him. And like I say, the fact that he didn't play him last night, the fact that he rested basically Foden, Bernardo, he rested him for Liverpool. Whether he says otherwise, he rested him for Liverpool.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well, to be fair. What do you think about the management of Haaland so far? Because everyone was talking about the injuries and whatnot. One thing that's impressed me most is the fact that Pep is taking him off after 60 minutes. Because if he can play 60 minutes and get 2 goals and you can maximise his performance in that period of time, and then you're resting him as well, you're finding that healthy balance of a striker who's going to get you loads of goals, but you're going to be able to prolong that really good piece of form that he's in by taking him off early.
Yeah, there's a couple of differences. I think, don't get me wrong, Haaland is absolutely fuming when he gets took off because he's scoring 2-3 goals. And then at the last 20 minutes of the game, when the defence is really, really tired and he could be like getting another 2 goals, he's getting replaced. So he is pissed off. But the Haaland in Dortmund, he was the main man. And if he didn't tick for Dortmund, they didn't tick. He was asked to press a lot for Dortmund. He was chasing lost causes, running into channels, and that doesn't have to do that at Man City. So basically his job is, you need to be in and around that 6-yard box when that ball comes in the box. You don't have to be pressing everyone. Just make sure you're there on the end of it. And I think that suits Haaland because he's not doing any unnecessary running and grafting around and chasing goalkeepers down and all that. Don't have to do it. And B, it's testament to the rest of the team. They're taking a big weight off his shoulders. If you've seen teams focus on Haaland now, and they're forgetting about the other boys coming in from the midfield, and then they're getting stung. The other day against the last game we played, I can't think who it was at weekend. Well, all the defenders went to Haaland for one of the goals and left Phil Foden stood there clean. So He's just got a presence. We're playing a bit different with him, but I think Pep's doing it right. Our physio is now employed by the Norwegian FA. So when Erling goes to Norway, he goes with him. So he's on a set routine, a different program. And I think it's all to maintain and maximise his fitness. And touch wood, so far this season seems to be working.
Last question on Haaland as well, because I saw a lot of people and I thought about it. Because one thing that City and Liverpool have just done, boss at in recent years, is being able to accumulate as many points as they have without a real out-and-out number 9. Yet you had Aguero, but towards the end he weren't playing as often. Do you think there's an element of truth to where Haaland, although by himself is doing more than what he needs to be doing, but do you think there's an element of truth to where he could be taken away from the overall team and the pressure that they cause?
I don't know.
In the long term, especially.
I just think it's give us a new dimension. I just think for the last couple of years we haven't had a striker who's played false 9, and I thought, for example, certain games this year we'd have lost last year. So you go 3-1 down at Newcastle, and we lose that one because we're playing a false 9. Newcastle's setting deep, we can't get through, we lose it. Crystal Palace go 2-0 up at the Etihad. They dig in deep like they did the other year. We couldn't get through them because the false 9, it's very easy for defenders to keep a false 9 away from the goal. They just kept pushing like Grealish out there, Foden out there. They keep these solid banks of 4 and we couldn't get through. But what happens then? As soon as we go 2 down, we can go direct. Now it's time to get it in the box to Haaland. You've seen City over the years, he never put a cross in. It's all pass, side, pass. Now it's get down the line, whiz that ball in if we need to, and Haaland's on the end of it. So he's totally given us a dimension, a couple of dimensions. And then you've got, from the defensive point of view, you've got teams that decide, right, we're going to mark Haaland. So they'll go deep on Haaland, but they're forgetting De Bruyne, Gundogan, Bernardo coming in the middle, getting torn apart. And then you've got teams that think, right, we'll press into the midfield, stop De Bruyne playing. But then when they do that, they're leaving a massive gap behind them, and Haaland's in behind them. So this season especially, we look crazy. We just look like a totally different side, different options. He's playing 3 at the back sometimes. He's played 2 up front, 3 up front. I just think we're a totally different animal this season from last season.
Hey, listen, when you sign a robot for 900 grand a week, Steve, I'd expect nothing less. You know what I mean? Not all of us have those resources. Next spends FC over here.
You need to stop believing them newspapers, man. 900 grand a week.
But he's defo on a lot of money with bonuses and whatnot as well. With bonuses, I wouldn't be surprised if he was on that much.
Bonuses are there to be hit, innit? You know, every striker has a goal bonus, and the fact he's scoring all them goals, he's doing his job. So for someone to round his wages up as if he's going to hit all these targets is a bit mad. But listen, don't forget, the same week we had the nonsense about the Real Madrid clause in his contract. That still keeps coming up. We had that with Aguero. We've had it with Pep. Now all of a sudden he's on 900 grand a week. At the end of the day, there's nothing else they can throw at Erling Haaland or Manchester City at the minute. So leave him to it. But listen, you know, he was a bargain for us. We wanted him. We got him. And now we've just got to keep him. Got to keep
See,
him
you're
happy.
right. He was actually a bargain, because even if you bring in, let's say, Mohamed Salah, and Mohamed Salah gets the numbers that he got in his first season, that's still a really good return with the money that you spend, even if it is, I don't know how much he's on a week, but let's say it's even 400, 500 grand a week, whatever. Even if it was that, he's returning that investment. The only thing I'm suggesting is that you can add bigger bonuses, you can add bigger incentives within that contract to be able to attract those players, to be able to get them on what on paper might seem like a decent amount of money per week. Regardless, however much you pay for him, he succeeded, in my opinion.
To be honest, listen, I went to the shop on Saturday in the City store. They did not have one home shirt in the store, not one. I said, what the fuck's going on? The guy went, we sold more home shirts in the last 2 months with Haaland on the back than we did all season. It's Haaland mania, mate.
It's a returning investment. Return of investment. He's class.
He's a superstar, and like you say, he's the new king in Manchester now. After destroying them Reds, after they were talking about Pat Butcher was going to do this and all that shit, he's a hero in Manchester now. And look, he's hit the ground running. People got to forget he's a human being. He's 22-year-old. He's come to
questionable.
The Premier League.
Questionable statement, what you've just said there.
He knocked him and said, he's going to flop Bundesliga tax and all that. Listen, I'm a City fan long time. I've watched City all my life, and I could only see it going one way because of the amount of chances we create. I thought he's added to Kevin De Bruyne's game. He's added to Cancelo's game. He's added to Foden's game. Last season, De Bruyne was getting the ball, looking up. There was no one on the end of them passes. He was driving himself from midfield. He was shooting. He was scoring. But this season, he gets his head up early, and he knows where Erling is. How many goals he put across the box for him to tap in now? Phil Foden, first game, didn't square it to Haaland, got bare shit for it. Look at Phil Foden now. His head's up, squares it to Haaland, goal. And, no, it's good.
The De Bruyne pass for me, Steve, I can't remember the opponent fully in my head at the moment, but the De Bruyne pass where he finds Haaland just running in behind. I know this is just going to sound like to you, what's De Bruyne pass into Haaland? But the one, I think it was a favela pass, and he sort of got it in behind, and Haaland got on the end of it, first time touch, back of the net, calm as you like. Just, I really hope the reports are true. I don't ever wish injury on anyone, and I usually like to face the best version of teams so I can get a true testament to where we stand. But we're dead shit at the moment, leading on to Liverpool. Steve, we've been like your biggest rivals over the past couple of years. Without us, you would have like literally every Premier League title over the last 5 years. Some great title races as well. If you can identify what the main issue, I've asked like most people who have came on the channel this because I'm watching us at the moment, Steve, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, even I don't know what the main problem is. And I do think it's something collective, but if you had to identify the main thing, what would you say it is?
I think with Liverpool, they've always done well with the recruitment side. I think they've got an awful lot of players at the same time getting on a little bit. Mm-hmm. When I look at the midfield and when I look at the squad, and you've got players like Milner still there, Henderson still there, Thiago's quality, obviously Fabinho's quality, but they're getting longer in the tooth. And I think what Man City did, they identified it early, and they didn't fall for the hero status. They made decisions early. They cut Aguero. They cut Aguero, they cut Yaya, they cut David Silva, they cut Vincent Kompany. All went on to play for other teams, Zabaleta, but they wasn't good enough for Man City. And I think what happened at Liverpool is they need an in-between man between the board and Klopp, who's a proper football man who can say, we need to freshen this up now. And they might say, well, hold on a minute, Fabinho's playing brilliant there. Yeah, but is he declining? Well, he is going to do. Right, who's coming through for him? Well, we'll go out and buy someone. No. Let's go and get someone now for 20 mil or 30 mil and get him in the background, get him on loan at somewhere, get him working, whatever. And I think that side of Liverpool is letting them down at the minute. I mean, they've been unbelievable team. Winning mentality, fantastic side, really, really kept us on our toes. And it's mad how it is. And like you say, you get a few injury runs and all that, and your world implodes and the fans go fucking mad and all that. But I think you're in a really deep transitional period at the minute. I think losing Mane was not as simple as people made out. Obviously, you signed Diaz and then you got Darwin. But it was always the case. If Darwin didn't hit the ground running, they were going to compare him. We shouldn't have got rid and all that crap. But the midfield is the engine for Liverpool. When you've got Hendo playing, when you've got Milner making the odd appearance and relying on Elliott and stuff, that's the key for me. I think the recruitment and I think the team is in transition and it needs freshening up.
I was going to say, I'd rather you playing CDM than Fabinho at the minute. Anytime I watch him, he's so slow, Steve. And I'm not trying to underestimate your abilities as a centre defensive midfielder.
I'm better
give him a real push in the team. That's the scout that we need. No, but Fabinho he's been really frustrating for me. Henderson
Can I just say for an example, yeah? We signed Rodri, and we had Fernandinho. Fernandinho was undroppable, but we signed Rodri. Rodri had a season of coming in and out, didn't quite. No one was overly, saying Rodri was the best in the world. But what he was doing is he was learning. He was watching Fernandinho. He was learning how he got into the system. Then all of a sudden, he flipped it the season after. Rodri was the main man. Fernandinho, the legend. Everyone's like, what do you mean Fernandinho's not playing and all that? But Fernandinho accepted it and he knew it. And Fernandinho helped Rodri. And then towards the end of last season, Fernandinho and Rodri, they were swapping a little bit. And Fernandinho was coming in games and getting us through. Without Fernandinho last season, we wouldn't have won that league for me because them last 10 games were horrible. But Liverpool, you're looking at the bench. Can you count on Milner anymore? No. For me, he's 2 or 3 years past where he should be. Hendo, the same. 2 or 3 years ago, should have gone for me, should be freshened up. You've got a fantastic strike force. Your defence, a big Verge is suffering a little bit now. They're getting on his case. Trent's getting pelters now. All of a sudden, when Liverpool are attacking and the bullying teams, Trent Alex is the best defender in the world, best right back in the world, attacking-wise, getting them crosses in, free kicks and all that. Now he's being asked to defend or he's getting put under the microscope. He's getting exposed a little bit, and that's your problem. You know what I mean? But that's, for me, the people in front of him in that midfield engine aren't doing the job well enough.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Trent. He's out for this game. He's going to be out for the next couple of weeks. Joel Matip, who I'm the biggest fan of, I think over the past 2 seasons, when I've seen him play consistently, I've said that I've seen better performances on a consistent basis than what I've seen from Van Dijk if Matip is actually playing. I'm not saying he's a better centre-back, but when I see him play, just an unbelievable player. He's going to be out for this game. Konate's just come back. He looked terrible when he came on against Arsenal. Not up to the races. He's only just came back from a long injury. So hopefully he's going to settle into the game. But Trent's out, Matip's out, and the big one, if there was any sort of way we were going to get at your defence at the moment, it was going to be through Luis Diaz, and he's out till after the World Cup. So, Steve, as much as I would love to come on this show and give you as much chest as I can, rest in peace to my chest, it no longer exists. So we've got no players. The players that we do have are shit, and I just don't see any path to us winning this game, to be honest with you, lads. I don't know if you're worried about anything.
I'm always worried about Anfield. I don't worry about Old Trafford, Emirates, anywhere. I always worry about Anfield because we've turned up there a couple of times when there's been no fans. Yeah. But when the supporters are there, I don't know whether they get under our skin. I don't know whether we let them get into it or what. We seem to dominate the play. Don't finish Liverpool off. Let them get back into it. We either get beat or we scrape a draw. I think the fans are going to be up for it again. But after the back of the Arsenal game, this is a chance for us to put the final nail in the coffin. This is a chance for us to see you off. We're going into it in great form. We're undefeated. We're just starting to tick. I'm confident. Like I say, with him up front, with everybody fit, and with your injuries and that, we've got a great chance Sunday of going there and finally getting a result.
I was going to say, as much as I do think Anfield will be up for it, purely due to the fact that I think we're all going to just try and get behind the manager, Steve. I don't know where you would stand if Pep Guardiola was in this current circumstance, but I would assume you wouldn't be jumping on the bus of saying, right, let's just let him go, let him go, let him go. No. It's one of those things where, there's the 7th season syndrome. I don't know if you believe in that. I don't know what happens with Jurgen Klopp after the 7th season. I don't know what he does when he gets a chance to actually rebuild his team, because he hasn't been given a chance to rebuild his team. I think a lot of the fans share the same mentality, so we'll be in the stadium, we'll be chanting his name, and we'll be up for it. But I just think, do you know one thing that people say to me, Steve, it pisses me off, the way, teams have finally caught you out. It's not difficult for a manager, a coaching staff, and a group of players to identify what you're going to try and do. So when you play Manchester City, you know they're going to ping the ball around you, you know they're going to run more than you, and you know they're going to play better football than you. So you've identified the three main things that Manchester City are going to do against you in the game. And you still can't do fuck all to stop it, and you're going to get spanked 5-0. Now, why is that, Steve? It's not because you can't identify what they can and can't do. It's just because they've got better players than what you do. So, for instance, the reason why I think you're bang on about the age of our squads, we've got the third oldest squad in the league from being, I think it was just 2 seasons ago, like, what was it? I think it was like the fifth youngest squad or something like that. But either way, it's changed drastically just over the past couple of years. And the players just can't. So, yeah, what were we known for when we were really good? Intensity, pressing, passing the ball well, getting better on the ball, being more clinical with our chances. Now you're in a position where Salah's not clinical, and he doesn't even look quick. He can't beat a man for pace. You've got a point where the midfield can't keep up with other teams' midfields. We are ran all over by Arsenal. And if we're getting ran all over by them, imagine what's going to happen when we come up against Rodri and stuff like that. I think it's not a case of we've been caught out tactically. I just think it's a case these players are just not as good anymore. And I want to ask you about Salah, because Haaland's obviously going for his record. Let's be honest, he's going to smash it by December.
I just want to mention one thing. I want to ask you one thing. I was listening to the radio driving somewhere the other day, and they had somebody on, I don't know who it was, and he said, I think that Liverpool spirit has been broken by the last game of last season when Gundogan scored. He said, I think a lot of Liverpool players are thinking, what the fuck do we have to do? Now, we've done everything we possibly can to the highest tilt. And he said, he's not saying every player, but he just said, I think a few players' spirit broke. And I never looked at it like that. I don't believe in that. But if you're fighting on every front and pushing and going for a league, and all of a sudden you keep getting so close and it's snatched away, surely to God, that'd dishearten you as a player and think, for fuck's sake, we can't hit them numbers again and not win it next season.
Bear in mind as well, the Champions League, literally the following week, wouldn't help with that either. And that was actually the start of the demise for Liverpool. I think you can relate that to Salah massively. And probably season, a few other players.
The quad, they're talking about the quad, and it was a realistic thing at one point because you looked like unstoppable on every front. They were coming for City. We were limping. Bear in mind how fine the margin was that we won that league last season. We literally limped over the line because we were fucked. We had John Stones.
Why didn't Steven Gerrard just put 10 men behind the ball? Why didn't he just do it? It probably still wouldn't have worked, but why didn't he just do it? Just try and sneak on an extra player or something, go on and 2-foot the best player on the pitch and just get banned for 6 months. I don't give a fuck. I really wish that day went differently, because even this situation that we're going through right now, if we just got that Premier League, I think that's another big sign, and that we can get in through the door, or just a really changed landscape for the football club. So, Ilkay Gundogan and go and fuck yourself. But as I was just saying on Salah, I was just going to basically talk about that. I think he's slower. I think he's one of those players, as you talk about, who just look defeated. It's just like, how do I keep falling short this many times? He lost the AFCON, didn't qualify for the World Cup, and Mane knocked him out of both of those. And then he doesn't go ahead and the League Cup's nice. It's sound. You'll know it's sound, but it's not the feeling of a Premier League or a Champions League. And the same goes for the FA Cup. Salah won't really care that he won those 2 trophies last year. He wanted the Premier League. He wanted the Champions League. He wanted the AFCON. He came so close to all 3 and got none of them, Steve. So although that statement that you hear from the fella on the radio might stand for some players, I can tell you for sure it defo stands with Mohamed Salah, because his decision-making has got worse. He looks slower on the ball. It looks like he's trying to build more muscle. And I just don't know if he's thinking, right, maybe if I get more physical and hold off players a bit better, then I can start getting more in on goal. Hasn't worked out. And I just want to know to you, do you think Salah, I've been asking it this way, do you think he's like the new Aubameyang, where you give him the big luxurious contract and we've just gave him it at the wrong time, where, like you said before, maybe he's just a bit too old now?
We've seen it. We've seen players do it. Oba did it. David De Gea at United did it. There's a few where they get the contract, and I don't know if it's a relaxation thing or what, but he's definitely not in the right form. I mean, he's not a bad player. He's a brilliant player. But I think sometimes teams lose the mojo and it affects everybody. And I think Liverpool have lost that mojo. And I think it's down to, you as the fans, great fans, to get behind him and galvanise the club again.
I agree.
and get Jurgen involved and say, look, we're all together here. We've hit a bump in the road. We've got two options. We can sit back, mope, fucking cry about it and make excuses and talk about the luxury days, or we fucking dig in, we take one on the chin for a season, and then we move on next season together. But the owners have got to think that way as well. They've got to look at it and they've got to come up with the cash, because Manchester City made about 190 million in the summer by selling kids on sell-on clauses and stuff, kids you've never heard of, for 16, 15 million. And
do you know what? Just to interrupt you dead quick, Steve. Sorry to interrupt you, but your youth academy is what impresses me most. What I think is good about your owners, yet they have a lot of money, but a lot of clubs have a lot of money. Man United have a lot of money. Chelsea have a lot of money. Chelsea have done a lot with their money. Man United, not so much. I think their academy has fell way below the pecking order over recent years. You've got the odd player and whatnot. I think the most important thing any football club with money can do is improve that youth academy, because not only does it increase the chances of getting players for basically free coming through the academy, but it also creates immense revenue when you have countless assets coming in and out of the football club. Like, I remember that Lucas Nemecha, or whoever you had in the academy, was never going to play for City, never in a million years, but it was going to be someone who scores a few goals in there, and then you can sell him for 10 to 15 million. That is unbelievable business. The only one we've got, who have we got that's came out recently? We've got Curtis Trent. We haven't sold any of them, so we haven't made any profit on those. We got Nico Williams. We got 15 million for him, which isn't too bad. Brewster, he was 20 million. Ever since them two, not really many people coming in and out, because you had that fella go to Southampton. You had loads of players coming in and out. So I think...
Unbelievable. That Romeo Lavia went to Southampton, about 13 million with a sell-on. The goalkeeper, Gavin Bazunu, 16 million.
And haven't you got a buyback for some of these players as well?
All of them.
I swear, Lavia, all of them.
All of them. So Samuel Edozie went for 10. You know, Nemecha went for
City
like 13, 14.
This insane game of chess. It's like they're just clocking all the bits on the board.
Happened? They got to the under... We've won... Last season, we won every single Premier League at every level, all the way up. Wow. Every single one we won. They had a picture on the pitch with all the youth teams, with all the Prems. The Premier League 2 side were beating teams 14-0, right? The players were too good for the Premier League 2, but not quite good enough to get in Manchester City starting 11. So what they do is, if you keep them in your Premier League 2 side, your under-18 side from the year before doesn't go up a level, and you end up stifling the production. So what they did is, they had a mass clear out. You're good enough. You're not. You're not. You're not. Go there. Go there. Go there. Go there. Now, our under-18 team, they sort of play in the under-23s to keep it like a bit competitive. But we sold that many players, and people going, "Why have we got rid of him? Why have we got rid of him?" But it's all part of the plan. We've got 11 or 12 clubs now worldwide that we own, one on more or less every continent. We're getting players from Brazil for 12 mil. We're sending them out on loan into Portugal, into France. We've got players on loan. Issa Kabor is on loan at Marseille, right back. He get in any Premier League team, but he won't get in our Premier League team ahead of Kyle Walker. But what I'm saying is, when people look and say, "Oh, Manchester City need a left back," then we've got 10 or 15 left backs in the City group from all around the world that they're all learning to trade on different continents, ready to go. And if any of them start shining, they get pulled into Manchester City. You know, if they're not quite, they might start off in Palermo in Serie B. Then they might get moved on to Girona.
And Steve, I know you sit there and wonder why a lot of people hate City. This is the reason. I think it's brilliant what they've done, because they've maximised the money what they've brought in, and they've stuck to the culture of the football club. The only thing they got wrong is what all the big six owners got wrong, and that was the Super League. Besides that, I think they've really engulfed the culture. I think they've set out the right youth academy and stuff like that, and that's why people hate us. Because it's jealousy. It's the same when you're doing well at any form of life, business, YouTube, whatever. If you're doing well, you're much more susceptible to getting shit. Manchester City are not only getting it right on the pitch, not only getting it right in first team transfers, not only getting it right in terms of trophy volume, you're even getting it right in terms of the youth academies, and that sets you up perfectly season in, season out. And I think that's why you get a lot of shit, and why when you're on platforms, people be like, "Oh, but it's all the money." It might be all the money, but there's been plenty of examples of teams who have had that type of money and not being able to utilise it.
The money narrative's gone now, because the net spend champions over the last 5 years are us. We're about minus 98 million or something. So that's gone out the window now. But what I'm saying is, we might have the money, but we're putting it into things that create money. We spent 250 million on an academy. We've got 190 odd million back off it, so it's paid for itself. But 100%. What people don't know is, they've just built a 25,000 all-seater concert venue next to the Etihad, the size of the MEN Arena next to the Etihad. Sheikh Mansour, in collaboration with a co-op, 100 concerts a year going there. The revenue's going straight in the coffers. So it's
Multiple
another
ways.
revenue stream. So when they say, oh, Man City, they're blagging it, they're doing all these sponsorship deals. No. Listen, at the end of the day, when you're champions of England and you're winning things and you're owning clubs all around the world, this is the question, right? Do you know when they said, oh, Etihad Airways, the sponsorship deal's inflated? All right, okay. So they compared it to other clubs and it was probably 10 or 15 million, right, bigger. Okay. But what they didn't take into account is Manchester City deal with Etihad Airways stretched across 11 clubs. So you have got the Etihad Training Centre in Melbourne, the Etihad Academy in Uruguay, you've got the Etihad Centre in New York. So what it was is, it wasn't just Man City. Etihad have got their name on football teams across the City group. So people are just blinkered with the press and that. But listen, if there's ever a football model that teams are going to copy in the future, it'll be Manchester City's model.
Like Leipzig and all that, Leipzig and whatnot, no defo, like all these type of teams who have the money that they can spend, they just need to put it in the right areas. It's a prime example. And I think FSG especially have missed out a trick on. Like, I get you want bigger stadiums, you want to attract more fans, and you want to give fans more options to be able to come to the game. But at the same time, I think the most beneficial thing that you can have in this era, and actually most others when it became a thing, is youth academies, and good youth academies where you're always getting players coming in and out and whatnot. So I think you're absolutely bang on there, Steve. Last question, lads, before I let you go. And again, Steve, appreciate the time. In a minute, let people know what you've been up to and getting up to as well. But a summary on how you think the game is going to go, score prediction, and what Liverpool have to worry about most, besides everything.
I think it's going to be a tight game. I think City's got to be patient. I think we've just got to keep hold of the ball, keep it moving, try and drag Liverpool deep. I think the crowd can always raise you to a level that teams, can't get to. We've been beat by the crowd a few times. We've had the better players on the pitch and lost the game. So I'm always wary of that. I think we've got to keep the ball. We've got to put the pressure on early, shut the crowd up, and get a nice early goal and turn the screw. And obviously, there's two people you got to watch. Erling, who's doing the business at the minute, loving his football, joy to watch, and Kevin De Bruyne, who's got a new lease of life. I don't know how you're going to stop him. I don't know if you're going to go to try and one or the other. I don't know. Like you say, midfield battle, are you going to shut it down? But yeah, I'm quietly confident this time.
Quietly confident. You're a pussy, Steve. Quietly confident. Fucking hell. As if you're being that much of a mush to come on a stream where I'm 10th. I am sitting 10th in the Premier League. I've got 3 of my best players injured, and you're talking to me about quietly confident. If I was on your channel right now, I'd be like, you're going to get scranned. You're getting fucked, and we're winning the Premier League because Arsenal aren't going to win it. Usual defo win the Premier League over them for sure. Like Mikel Arteta, like everything related to Manchester City is just putting you in an even bigger light because you've got the youth academy players doing well at other teams, and then you've got Mikel Arteta fucking killing it for Arsenal. And 2 of his main big signings was Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus. Like, you are not only making you better, you are now making everyone else better.
Pep was getting bored, so he created a rival. He gave him a manager, wasn't it?
And he was like, right, yeah, gonna have to go, but now he's done. Let me try and create another one. No, that's boss, lads. Have you got a score prediction for the game as well?
I think it'll be 2-1 City.
2-1 City. I'm going to go with about 3-0 City, to be honest with you. I don't know where we're getting a goal from. The main thing that worries me, Steve, is because recently we've been going with a 4-2-4 type formation. So we went with Thiago and Henderson in the midfield against Arsenal, and then we had Jota, Nunes, Diaz and Salah in the attack. I don't think we're going to do the same, but even if we've had 2 in midfield, 3 in midfield, we still get outran, we still get outpressed. And on top of that as well, we don't have the organisation when we aren't on the ball, which is the most frustrating thing because it seems to be, it's not even the organisation, it's players not being where they should be at the right moments. It's not precise enough. And that's why I think when De Bruyne gets that 1 ounce of space that we've been given to fucking, I don't know, James McCarthy from fucking Crystal Palace, if Kevin De Bruyne gets that 1 ounce of space, and then you've got Erling Haaland running in behind a very shaky and slow Van Dijk at the moment, I'm just very surprised you haven't came on and gave me a bit more confidence. And I think 2-1, weirdly enough, I never take losses, so I wouldn't take that. If I had to take a loss, I'd be buzzing with 2-1. Well, only 2-1 against Manchester City with the form that they're in. And again, that shows to the standards where we've dropped to, but I'm someone who's tried to be realistic, readjust expectations, and not just try and... What I don't want is to say, right, we have to still go and win the league. And then we don't win the league, and then the end of the season, it's a toxic environment where it's like, right, we need Klopp out, we need this player gone, we need this player gone. If you readjust expectations, it doesn't create the toxic environments and then still allows you to develop and grow in the short term, and then that's more beneficial in the long term. Don't know if you think I've got any premise there.
No, I get it. I seen an interview with Klopp, and he was going a bit mad because Didi Hamann had said something, and he does look a little bit...
Haman's a pussy, lads. I don't like Didi Hamann. He can go and fuck himself.
Yeah, he's full of shit, man. But he's the most important person at Liverpool at the minute is the manager for me. And yeah, he does look at the minute he's going through a rough patch. But I think he's just got to stay on board. He's got to be open and honest with the fans. You guys have got to get behind him. And I think, I still said up until a week ago that the rivals was Liverpool because they could go on a run of maybe 10, 11, 12 games that I don't think Arsenal can or Tottenham can. So listen, I don't expect Liverpool now after this Arsenal game to be challenging for the title. But if he can get all his players back and he can get them into some sort of rhythm, you got to go for that top four now. Wipe your mouth for the title, go for the top four, Champions League. But the manager's most important. Don't let him get that feeling where he thinks it's all gone to shit and everyone's turning on him because he'll leave, and then it could set you back another 3 or 4 years.
I heard the Championship weren't that bad anyway, Steve, so looking forward to it.
Great in the Championship, mate. It's great. I think you'll stay up, though.
Just about, hopefully. We'll try and pull off an Everton and their great achievement last season. Nah, lads, honestly, Steve, thank you so much for getting on the channel, brother. There was not a better City fan I could have asked for. Have you got anything going on in the recent... I know that, obviously, you've been in and out of YouTube doing the odd appearance on the Big Six to take the piss out of Grizz. But have you got anything coming up that people can look out for? Because I know people are dying to watch you.
Just my channel on YouTube at Big Steve MCFC.
That's in the title, by the way, people. That's in the title.
Brilliant, so brilliant. Trying to upload a bit of content on there. And Instagram at Big Steve MCFC. Always go live on there, at the games and that. So it is what it is. But we keep moving at the minute. We're doing all right. City fans are happy. I'm happy. I'll be even happier on Sunday night, I hope.
Touch me knuckles, Steve, lad, my brother. Appreciate the time. Guys, thank you for watching James Redmond TV. This has been a belter preview. Go and subscribe to Steve. Go and follow him on all of his socials. They'll be in the description down below, and the channel will be in the title. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see all you beautiful people. That was like Australian later. Peace out.